The heavy oak door of Veda's penthouse clicked shut behind me, with a sound that felt louder than the storm raging outside. My boots splashed through the hallway puddles as I jabbed the elevator button, the cold metal biting into my palm. Rain hammered the floor-to-ceiling windows, turning downtown Seattle into a smear of blurred headlights and glowing signs.
Maxine, wait.
And I could still hear her voice cracking through the wood. Maxine. Wait. But I didn't turn around. My chest burned like someone had poured gasoline on every doubt I'd ever swallowed. I couldn't take the humiliation anymore. God. 3 months earlier, the air in Capitol Hill coffee smelled like fresh espresso and wet wool coats. I was behind the counter, sleeves rolled up, wiping steam off the milk pitcher, when she walked in, tall, dark hair twisted into a loose knot, charcoal coat open over a silk blouse that probably cost more than my rent. Veda. She ordered her usual oat milk latte and lingered, gray eyes tracing the tiny tattoo of a camera on my wrist. Rough shift? She asked, voice low and warm like honey over gravel. I laughed once. Short.
Thank you.
Our fingers brushed. Electricity. Nothing more. Not yet. She came back the next day. And the day after. Each time the microtension built in the space between us, her smile lingering half a second longer. My pulse kicking up when she said my name like it belonged to her already. The cafe's espresso machine hissed and gurgled while I pretended not to notice the way she watched me move. One Thursday the place was almost empty, rain streaking the windows like tears. She leaned on the counter, jasmine perfume cutting through the coffee steam. You ever think about shooting your own stuff?
Maxine?
Maxine.
You've got the eye.
I shrugged.
Eyes don't pay the bills.
Eyes don't pay the bills. She tilted her head, studying me like I was a photograph she wanted to keep. Maybe they could. That night I closed the cafe alone. The streetlights buzzed overhead, and puddles reflected the neon open sign. I locked the door, and there she was, waiting under the awning, umbrella dripping. Walk you home? She asked. I should have said no. Instead I nodded. Our footsteps synced on the wet sidewalk, shoulders bumping once, twice. She asked about the camera tattoo, my grandpa's old Leica, the one I still carried everywhere. I told her how I used to chase light around my tiny Midwest town before everything fell apart. She listened like the rain had stopped just for us. Weeks blurred into stolen hours. She invited me to her gallery opening in a converted warehouse down by the water. The space smelled of fresh paint and expensive wine, string lights dripping from exposed beams. I showed up in my best black dress, the one with the frayed hem I kept meaning to fix. Veda moved through the crowd like she belonged to it, laughing, touching elbows, the center of every orbit. When she saw me, she crossed the room in 3 strides, hand brushing my lower back. You came, she whispered against my ear. The touch stayed on my skin long after she had to greet someone else. Later, we stood on the loading dock behind the gallery. The Puget Sound lapped dark and quiet below us. She lit a cigarette, the flame flickering across her face. I don't bring dates here, she said quietly. Too many eyes.
Look around.
I nodded,
Far too many eyes on us already.
throat tight.
We need to move.
Instead, I asked about the giant print on the far wall, her photo of a single streetlight cutting through fog. She told me how she'd waited 3 hours in the cold for that exact moment. I understood that kind of patience. For the first time in years, I felt seen. Our first real date was at a tiny Vietnamese place she knew in the International District. Steam rose from faux bowls. Cilantro sharp in the air. We talked until the restaurant emptied. She told me about her mother's endless expectations. The gallery that had to stay perfect. The fear that one wrong move would unravel everything she'd built. I listened, then shared the ugly parts. My ex who had outed me to my family back home. The way love had turned into public shame and silence. My voice cracked on the last word. Veda reached across the table and covered my hand with hers. The warmth sank straight into my bones.
I don't trust anyone anymore.
I don't trust anyone anymore, I said. The sentence falling between us like a stone. She didn't flinch. She just squeezed my fingers and whispered. Then let me earn it. The kiss happened 2 nights later in my cramped studio apartment. Rain drummed the skylight above my bed. We'd been watching an old movie on my laptop. Shoulders touching on the narrow couch. She turned to me during a quiet scene. Eyes soft in the blue glow. Maxine, she breathed. Like a question and an answer all at once. I leaned in first. Our lips met slow. Tentative. Salt and want and the faint trace of her lipstick. Her hand slid into my hair. Mine found the curve of her waist. The world narrowed to the sound of our breathing and the rain. When we broke apart, she rested her forehead against mine. I've wanted that since the first latte, she murmured. I laughed. For the first time in forever. Trust felt possible. We fell hard after that. Morning she'd bring coffee to my door before my shift. Evenings I'd meet her at the gallery after closing, helping her rearrange prints while we talked about everything and nothing. She taught me to frame light the way she did, how to wait for the moment that mattered. I cooked her cheap stir-fry in my tiny kitchen and she ate it like it was 5-star. There were nights we stayed up until dawn. Bodies tangled. Her laughter low against my neck. The microtensions were still there, her phone buzzing with invitations she sometimes canceled for me. The way she'd glance at the door when my neighbor knocked, but love made them feel small. Then came the charity gala. Her biggest night of the year. The penthouse was already buzzing with caterers when I arrived. Hair still damp from the shower. She looked devastating in a deep green gown that caught every light. You're perfect, she told me, kissing my temple. But when the first guests arrived, she stepped half a pace away. I felt the shift like a drop in temperature. Throughout the evening the distance grew. Introductions became, "This is Maxine. A very talented photographer I know. Not girlfriend.
She's a very talented
Not partner."
acquaintance of mine.
I smiled through it.
She's the brilliant photographer
Jaw
I was
aching.
telling you about.
And champagne flutes clinked like tiny bells
So
of exclusion.
wonderful to finally meet you, Maxine.
The
I
real
raise
blow
this
came during the
glass to new
toast.
beginnings, and to
Veda stood at the
finally getting
microphone.
Exactly what you deserve.
Radiant.
Wouldn't you agree, Maxine? To the
Her
future
mother
of the
watched from the front
foundation.
row.
Cheers.
Lips pressed thin. When a silver-haired donor asked loudly,
Darling, you must
"And who is the
introduce
lovely
me to
young
this
woman who's been by
lovely
your side
young
all
woman?"
night?" Veda hesitated. 2 heartbeats. Then she laughed that polished laugh I'd once loved and said,
Just an old friend from the cafe scene.
"Just an old friend from the cafe scene." She's been helping with some behind-the-scenes shots. The room chuckled politely. My face burned hotter than the spotlight. I felt every eye slide over me like I was furniture. The jasmine of her perfume suddenly smelled like betrayal. I lasted another hour, smiling until my cheeks hurt, nodding at strangers who now saw me as background. When the crowd thinned, I pulled her into the small powder room off the hallway. The mirror reflected us, her flawless, me fraying at the edges. "Why did you do that?" My voice was quiet but sharp.
Why did you do that?
She closed the door, eyes wide. Maxine,
you don't understand. These
people fund the gallery. My mother still thinks I'm going through a phase.
But one photo
On Instagram and the whole narrative changes. I stared at her reflection.
So I'm a phase?
She reached for me. I stepped back until my spine hit the wall. The marble was cold through my dress. The words came out before I could stop them. I spent years hiding who I am because someone else decided it was inconvenient.
Not even for Veda.
I'm not doing it again. Not even for you. Her face crumpled. Please. We'll figure it out. I shook my head, tears pricking hot. Your world doesn't have room for me as I really am, Veda. And I'm done shrinking to fit. I walked out before she could answer. Heels echoing on the marble like gunshots. The elevator ride down felt endless. My phone buzzed in my clutch, her name on the screen, but I silenced it. Outside the rain had turned biblical. I didn't have an umbrella. I just walked to my beat-up Civic parked 2 blocks away. Water soaking through my dress. Mascara running black rivers down my cheeks. The engine coughed to life and I pulled into traffic. Wipers slapping furiously. In the rear view, the penthouse lights blurred smaller and smaller. My chest heaved with sobs I couldn't hold back anymore. I loved her, God. I still loved her, but love wasn't supposed to feel like erasure. I made it back to my studio just after midnight. The apartment smelled like cold coffee and the lavender candle I'd forgotten to blow out. I kicked off my ruined heels and sank onto the couch. The same couch where we'd had our first kiss. My phone lit up again.
It's Veda.
A voicemail.
Listen carefully. Don't go back to the apartment.
I played it on
You
speaker.
were there.
Voice trembling. Maxine, I'm so sorry.
I am so sorry. And
The
felt
second you
floor
walked out,
drop
I felt
when
it,
you walked
like the
out.
floor dropped out from under me. I saw my mother's face and the donors and I panicked.
And I just panicked.
But you're right.
I couldn't stay there.
I was scared. I was ashamed of being
You
scared.
have to come back.
Please
Just
come
let me
back.
come to you. I can't stand this.
Or at least let me come to you. I can't lose you over my own bullshit.
She can't
Her
lose
voice broke on the
Maxine
last
over her
word.
own bullshit.
Raw and small in a way I'd never heard. The
Please
message
call me
ended
back.
with a shaky breath and the line went
I
dead.
don't know what to do without you.
I sat there in the dark. Rain still tapping the skylight like it was trying to get in. My heart twisted between fury and longing so sharp it hurt to breathe. Part of me wanted to drive straight back. Crawl into her arms. Pretend the gala never happened. But the bigger part, the part that had spent years learning to stand up straight after being stepped on, knew I couldn't. I had finally remembered who I was before her. I wasn't going to unlearn it. I didn't call her back that night. Or the next. Texts came, long paragraphs, voice notes at 3 a.m.
I know I messed up.
Flowers delivered to the
but
cafe
I
with a
promise
card that
I'm
simply
trying to
read,
earn your
I'm still
trust
earning
back.
it. I kept them on the counter where the espresso machine hissed its familiar song. Every time the door chimed, I half expected to see her walk
So I
in.
told him we need to reschedule the
Coat
meeting.
dripping.
Right, the traffic was insane this morning.
Sometimes I caught myself smiling at the memory before the ache rushed back in.
Veda,
Weeks later I ran into her
that
at the
you?
farmer's market, the same one,
Look at
where we'd
these.
once bought
Just like that
peaches and
night.
fed
Want
each other
one?
slices
They
under
look
string
perfect.
lights.
Maybe just a
She
bite.
looked thinner, but still impossibly beautiful. Our gazes locked across a stall of sunflowers. For a moment the crowd disappeared and it was just us again. That first electric brush of fingers over a latte. She took one step toward me. I took one step back. The space between us felt like the entire city. I meant every word, she said softly. Voice carrying over the market noise.
Okay.
I'm done hiding.
I told my mother and the board.
I told my
and
mother.
The gallery can survive without pretending.
I told the board. The gallery
I
can
understand
survive
if it
without
is too
pretending.
late.
Her eyes shimmered. But I understand if it's too late. I swallowed hard. The smell of fresh bread and damp earth filled the air between us. I love you.
Veda. I think I always will.
I think I always will.
But
I had to choose me that night. And I'm still choosing me.
Still choosing myself.
My voice didn't waver this time. She nodded, a single tear slipping down her cheek. I know. Every day I wake up without you.
Every single day I wake up without you. Are you
We
really
stood there a
leaving?
long moment.
I haven't
The
decided
market
yet.
swirling around us like a river neither of us could stop. Then I turned and walked away. Shoulders straight. The sun broke through the clouds for the first time in days. Warm on my face. My heart still ached, raw and unfinished, but it was mine. Whole. No longer shrinking.
I just don't know what to do without you here.
Sometimes late at night I still
Everything
replay that
reminds me of
voicemail.
you.
Her voice
I
cracks
really
the
messed
same
up
way
this
every
time.
time. I haven't
just wanted
deleted
to
it.
hear your voice. I know it's
Maybe one
complicated,
day I'll be
but
ready to
please,
answer.
Let's talk. I can't
Maybe
believe
not.
You're saying this. What about everything we talked
Ending.
about? It's over, Maxine. I'm sorry. Please.
Sometimes the ending is simply choosing yourself in the rain. Door closed behind you and learning you can still breathe on the other side.